Welcome back, everyone, to another interview with your amazing host. Today, we're going to be interviewing somebody who's cheated their way to the top. They min-maxed the crap out of their character using game-breaking exploits, and their strength is false. I'm sure you must have heard of them before. I'm sure you know all of this information is true as soon as I tell you who it is. Today we're going to be interviewing Fierlyt with our two co-hosts, Fergs 1 and Fergs 2. Now, what is the point of this interview? Not really sure, but I thought it would be good to interview him with the Ferguses. And with that, let's kick off In Between Two Fergs, Episode 2 with Fierlyt. I heard you like downvotes on Reddit. You farmed them intentionally. Is that true?
No comment.
How long have you been playing Mabinogi for? Also, I did some digging and saw you only started making content roughly 2 years ago. Do you have another channel, or is that when you just decided to start actually making content?
That's just when I decided to make content. But I've been playing since around about 2009.
Out of these three NPCs, Glennis, Walter, and Rab, you have to marry one, be extremely intimate with one, and delete one from the game. Who would it be?
Okay, so you know the saying "man's best friend." I'd marry Rab. I mean, it's just. I feel like there's no like downside to that relationship lasting as long as it does, and on a darker side of things, that would be the shortest marriage, I think. And then I guess I could be intimate with Glennis. I don't swing that way with Walter, unfortunately. So, Walter, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to go.
How was it that you discovered this game? What first put you onto the Mabinogi grind?
My mother. She introduced us to the game. Me and my brother and my mom. And my grandma, we all played originally.
Do any of them still play?
My brother's come back a couple times, but he doesn't currently play. My mom gets overwhelmed when she logs in because there's so many things to do. She doesn't know what she needs to do next, which has been solved a little bit for new characters. But if you're playing on an older character, you still have all those hundreds of quests thrown at you. And my grandma, she stopped playing when a bear attacked me and she couldn't separate game from reality. She's like, my grandson is being attacked by a bear. I need to help him. In reality, it was me trying to keep the bear away from her because her character was too weak to handle the bear at the time. And of course, this is long before I would easily be able to one-shot a bear. It was an actual like intense fight. But after that, she decided it was too much for her.
How does it feel to be Mabby Nerd's substitute sidekick when the real ones are busy?
I appreciate Code Vu and Sensei Kunoi, Celtic Bliss, all of the other guys. They're fantastic. But I am the sidekick, okay? Don't get that mixed up.
So you're telling me you're not number 2 or 3?
Okay, maybe like 3, but I don't know.
So when you decide to start making videos the way you do, what made you decide to tackle that approach of content of like guides more than anything else?
Because it was frustrating that there wasn't. It just, I looked and there was no like, okay, I shouldn't say none. Mabby Bobo has a lot of sort of in the realm of informational videos, but for a general American or global server sort of audience, like the English audience, there's not that many tutorials out there in video format, and I found that kind of frustrating. And Mabby Bobo's videos were generally a slower pace than what I enjoy. So I figured I'd get more to the point tutorials out there that are like just the information as fast as you can get it, you know?
Yeah, I think I watched some of her videos and they were like 20 minutes, 30 minutes, sometimes even an hour long. And I was like, ooh.
Which I respect it. It's good stuff, but I would watch it on like 2 or 3 times speed.
So when it comes to making a project, you release a Cypher project. Does it always take you a year to release a project? Like what happened there?
That was a nightmare. That particular project was a nightmare from beginning to end. Not like all the people were fantastic. Everything recorded well, but the editing process for that was an absolute complete nightmare.
What were like some of the issues that you ran into?
So if you watch the Cypher video, you'll notice you'll have like the the characters have like a cutout of like paper, and then behind them is a blacked out it's like black and white, and then next to it is it's like a rip effect, and then like the actual footage. To generate that effect, I had to do a lot of different things, and one of those things kept breaking. So like the background would just be black behind the character's cutout, so it wouldn't actually show the footage behind there that was supposed to be black and white when it rendered out, but it would show it as working for me when I was working on it, and then it would just wouldn't work on the render. We had the Cypher contest in December of 21. And then in January of 22, we started the Cypher project, where we had everybody record their parts. We wrote lyrics. We went back and forth. We bounced around ideas on what we wanted the project to be. February, we were looking at doing a release, but that wasn't going to happen. I had just switched from the Adobe products to DaVinci Resolve. And in the middle of that switch, I was relearning the program. What initially was supposed to be like a February release, we'd push back to like March, and then we were talking about where we would release it. So we had some conversations about releasing it on the official Mabinogi channel, or if we wanted to put it on Mabinerd's channel or my channel, or if we wanted to like break it up into parts. We were talking about like some other projects that kind of delayed this one. And eventually, like, it kept getting delayed, and eventually we had to get it out. We knew we had to get it out, so we released it in December. So it took from basically January to December to finally release that project.
So when it comes to your name, I heard people say Fierlyt, Fierlyt, Starlight. What is it? How do you say it?
Okay, so the spelling, it's like F-I-E-R, which is the old, I think it's Irish spelling of fire. So you could just say Fierlyt, right? But you got to say it with an Irish accent to get it right.
I recently had an encounter with a milkman. If I told you he was a con artist, what would you think about this?
I would think that's possibly accurate. I've been known to own a cow or two. It doesn't cost that much to milk them, you know. So he's definitely overcharging, I think.
If you had to convince people to play Mabinogi, what would you tell them?
If I had to convince people, that's a very good question. What would I do to convince somebody to play Mabinogi in 2023? I think that a lot of players that are interested in having a game that lets you kind of play it your own way, this gets the closest of basically any game that I've seen. And I've played like New World, which gets like halfway there, but then it kind of like didn't at the time that I played have the content to follow up on that. Like there wasn't much to do with that freedom. Mabby has just a ton of different like varieties of content that you could chase after and enjoy. And I don't think like games like New World had like a music system of like when I played, at least it didn't really have a music system. Whereas in like Final Fantasy you can make music, in Mabby you can make music and stuff like that. I think Final Fantasy is more heavy on the roleplay side of things, where they have like clubs and all sorts of stuff like that. But Mabby has a lot more of just like the freedom of doing what you want to do when you want to do it, sort of thing. Community doesn't really help with that very much. But
so to wrap things up, if you had to shout anything out, say anything, what would you say? How would you end it?
Yeah, there's a lot of really cool content creators for Mabby, and every one of them is unique and individual in the way that they approach things. And I think it's really important that as a community, as we're growing, because this kind of, we're gaining new players and we're gaining returning players all the time now. And a lot of them are interested in making videos, that we don't discourage that, because that's actually really cool to see. I've seen a lot of new creators start popping up, and I want to just like encourage everybody to do what you want to do and